Every morning at precisely 5:45 a.m., Walter Jenkins woke to the same ritual. He'd stretch, scratch his thinning white hair, and shuffle into the kitchen, where the kettle sat waiting on the stove. He didn't need an alarm. His body had followed the same schedule for over a decade. The morning sun cast a golden light through the window as he prepared his usual routine: a glass of cold water, a bowl of cereal, and a strong cup of black coffee. Then, before doing anything else, he walked out to the porch with his steaming mug and lit a cigarette. One long drag, then another. He'd been smoking like that since he was 20. Doctors had warned him more than once. But he was still here at 73, still upright, still moving. Plenty of folks died younger doing everything right, he often told his daughter. But what Walter didn't know was that it wasn't just the smoking or the caffeine. It was the timing of his habits and how, in combination, they were quietly stacking the odds against him. The stroke came on a Tuesday. It started with a slight numbness in his right hand. He thought he'd slept on it, funny. Then came the blurring of vision, the slurring of a few words when he tried to call out to his neighbor across the lawn. He laughed it off, made it back inside, and sat down for a moment, thinking it would pass. It didn't. By the time the ambulance arrived, Walter couldn't move the right side of his body. In the hospital, his daughter Rachel sat beside him, holding his hand. The doctor's words were calm but serious. It was a minor stroke, but you're lucky. Could have been worse. We're going to have to take a hard look at your morning routine. Rachel leaned forward. His routine? He's done the same thing every day for years. Exactly, the doctor said. And that's the problem. That night, while Walter rested, Rachel went home and started reading. Not just about strokes, but about habits, morning behaviors, hidden risks. She stumbled across article after article pointing to something she'd never considered: how our bodies respond to stress, dehydration, and chemical triggers during the earliest hours of the day, especially after age 60. One phrase kept coming up: morning blood pressure spike. She clicked through research studies, medical blogs, and heart health reports. What she learned startled her. In the early morning, between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., the body naturally experiences a surge in blood pressure and heart rate. It's part of the body's circadian rhythm, preparing to wake and be alert. But for seniors, especially those with underlying conditions or unhealthy morning habits, this natural spike can turn dangerous. Caffeine, for instance, especially on an empty stomach, causes a sharp rise in blood pressure. Add nicotine to the mix, and the effects are magnified. Both substances constrict blood vessels, reduce oxygen flow, and increase clotting risk. And then there's dehydration. Walter always drank a small glass of water when he woke, but it wasn't enough. After 7 to 8 hours without fluids, the blood becomes slightly thicker. That makes the heart work harder and increases the risk of clot formation, especially if combined with caffeine and nicotine. In simple terms, every morning, Walter was pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire: a strong cup of coffee, no breakfast, a cigarette, minimal water, high blood pressure already. It was a perfect storm, and it had almost cost him his life. When Walter came home from the hospital, everything changed. His right hand was slow to respond, and his speech a little slurred, but he was alive. Rachel moved in for a while to help him adjust. I read up on what happened. She told him one morning as she handed him a tall glass of water instead of his usual coffee. We've got to start over. New routine. He grumbled, but nodded. The new morning looked like this. First, a full glass of water before getting out of bed. It helped thin the blood and reduce the early morning pressure spike. Then, 5 minutes of slow, seated stretches, enough to ease his body into the day without sudden strain. Instead of caffeine right away, he ate a small breakfast. Something with oats, berries, or a boiled egg, real food to stabilize his blood sugar and protect his heart. And the cigarettes? Gone. Rachel had sat him down with a doctor who explained, in no uncertain terms, that even one cigarette in the early morning increased his risk of stroke by over 30%. The combination of nicotine and cortisol spikes from waking was lethal in seniors with any cardiovascular risk. It was hard. Walter had smoked for 50 years. But he'd also faced death, felt its fingers around his chest, and he wasn't ready to go. He replaced cigarettes with a walk down the driveway, breathing in the morning air instead of smoke. The first few weeks were rough. He was irritable, tired, shaky, but by the end of the month, he felt stronger. He wasn't just recovering, he was waking up better. 3 months later, at his follow up appointment, the doctor smiled as he reviewed Walter's blood work and blood pressure. You've turned things around. Keep this up, and you'll add years to your life. Back home, Walter sipped his decaf coffee. Not quite the same, but good enough. I had no idea, he told Rachel. All those mornings I thought I was just living my routine. Turns out I was slowly loading a gun pointed at my own head. She squeezed his hand. That's what routine does. It hides danger in plain sight. Now, Walter tries to warn his friends. He talks about the morning trap, how older bodies can't handle the same stress as before, how waking up is like stepping into a pressure zone. The worst part, he says, is that no one tells you. You can live 70 years thinking you're doing fine until one morning you're not. Today, Walter still wakes at 5:45, but the cigarette's gone, the coffee is decaf, and there's a big bottle of water by the bed. He eats real food, moves slowly, breathes deeply. He doesn't miss the old habits. Not anymore. Because every morning now, he wakes up with a second chance. And for a man who came this close to losing everything, that's the only habit that matters.